All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, for another night of Summer Spirit and Empowerment Week. I am so excited to see all these faces that were here yesterday. I hope you guys all enjoyed the conversation yesterday, and today is going to be just as fun. Like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, I had the pleasure of hearing our presenter a couple months ago. I was so just like energized by what she had to say. I immediately reached out. I was like, hey, can you give the same kind of information to our empowerment night? And she was super happy to join us. So thank you guys all for coming again tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker. We have Annie here from the United Spinal Association, and she's going to share a little bit of information about advocacy with us today. Like I said, this is she is going to expand on what I heard a couple months ago, so I am really excited. So without further ado, Annie, go ahead and take it over. I will still be I'm going to help her monitor her slideshow, so whenever you are ready.
You can go ahead and pull up the slideshow if you want while I'm kind of giving a background about myself. But thank you very much for having me. I think you know how much I love talking about advocacy and everything with United Spinal, and I always embrace the opportunity to speak and share what I've learned over the time I've been with United Spinal. So I'll just start by giving a little bit of background about myself. I have been a wheelchair user for a little over 18 years now. I was in a diving accident in 2005. I'm a C5 quad. And you know, I always say, wait 1 second here. There we go. Lost my notes, guys. I about freaked out for a second. Yeah. Like I said, C5 incomplete quad. And after my diving accident, I was trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I actually had my diving accident. It was at my graduation from college. I had just received my degree for interior design. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue pursuing that. So I decided to go back to college and get my teaching degree. So I have a teaching degree in history and sociology for high school level. So I did my student teaching, loved it. But unfortunately, as many of you know who are wheelchair users, you know, my body just couldn't take it. I would have to get up at 4 a.m. every morning to get ready, be in my chair all day, you know, up till 10 o'clock at night. And my body mentally, I was all there. I was all for it, but my body said, nope. So after I completed my student teaching, got my degree. I then went to the YMCA and kind of worked for the youth development program, where I was able to work with kids, and it was a better schedule for me, and I just felt better. My body felt better. So I worked there for quite a few years, loved it. And then, you know, I was always having people tell me, and you need to write stories. You need to share your stories. And, you know, it was something I always wanted to get into. So I decided to start writing children's books because, hey, why not? You know, so I did that, and I started writing back in 2015 is when I started writing these children's books. And the first one, of course, was called Scooter and his Scoot Scoot. They all involve dogs. They're rhyming children's picture books. And of course, Scooter and his Scoot Scoot is a dog with wheels. Back legs don't work. And one of the main reasons I wanted to write these children's books is because I did a lot of speaking events for older groups, college level, adults, high school level, but I really wanted to reach a younger audience. I wanted to get in front of them with my wheelchair. And I wanted them to become familiar with just, you know, what the possibilities, you know, and accepting differences. And that's the whole thing that this first story was about. And this past summer, it was the release of my 5th children's book. So I'm still writing and still doing that. Most of my time now is devoted to United Spinal, which I love. But I haven't done as many of the speaking engagements in schools ever since COVID. I've done a lot of online readings and online talks, but now that I've getting started with United Spinal, it's really I've become very involved, very busy, keeps me out of trouble. So like I said, I still love my writing, but I realized after this job came around with United Spinal, which literally fell in my lap. I had a friend of my brother's present me with this job opening at United Spinal. And I wasn't very familiar with the political side, the legislation. I wasn't comfortable with that yet, but I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to manage people. So I just went for it. I applied. And here I sit 3 years later, in this position, and I've learned so much, and it is an opportunity that I feel very blessed that kind of just popped up at the right time. So after I started working more with advocacy, I realized that I had been an advocate before I even really knew I was an advocate. I'm a storyteller. It's kind of what I do. I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller. A lot of times I can get my thoughts out better writing them down on a piece of paper than I can out of my mouth. So, I always say that my two words for the way I am an advocate is transparency and persistence. I choose those two words because I believe, first off, you have to be persistent as an advocate. It's baby steps. It takes times. You're going to have roadblocks. It can be frustrating, but you have to be persistent. You have to keep showing up. And transparency is something I've always believed ever since I started doing my speaking engagements. I believe the more transparent you are, the more you can relate to others and help others relate to you. You may be able to reach people who realize, hey, we have a lot of things in common. So I always try to be as transparent as possible. At times it's harder than others. It can be difficult to talk about certain things, but I work through it, and I've really come to love talking about my journey. Now, my position at United Spinal, I am the grassroots advocacy manager. So I work with the advocacy and policy team with my colleague, Steve Lieberman, who is the director of advocacy and policy. And the man has so much information in his head. I do not know how he keeps it all up there. But really, my job is I provide management for our grassroots advocacy network across the entire country. And I'm really kind of the communication support between all the advocates and then the National United Spinal Association. So I'm kind of tying it all together and making sure information is being passed along both directions. And another major part of my job is I've dedicated a lot of time to increasing the social media presence of the advocacy network. And as we go through the slides, you'll see kind of how, we've grown the advocacy program and all the different ways you can become involved at any level. So I will start out. If we can go to the first slide, please. What I'm going to do here is kind of like a crash course in advocacy 101. I'm just going to give a little background and highlight some important parts of advocacy. And then I'm going to kind of go into the United Spinal and how you can become involved in all the different facets of the advocacy program. So first off, we want to know, why is advocacy important? And I think the first thing you have to find out is what is advocacy? And really, advocacy is acts of public support or recommendations of a particular cause or policy. Through advocacy, communities like ours are able to really raise awareness, break down barriers, and really help further the causes that we care about and that affect us. Effective advocacy really shapes the public debate on social issues and ensures that communities have a voice in the policies that impact our lives. So why is advocacy important? I've just listed a few things here: raise awareness, break down barriers, shape public debate, have a voice in policies that impact our lives, which is very empowering. I was able to really do this at our role in Capitol Hill, which I'll get into here in a little bit. And you really have the power to influence and advance change. So as a grassroots advocate, you have the power to be heard by decision makers. You can educate policymakers, which is so important because a lot of the policymakers, when we go and present information to them, it's things that they are not familiar with. So educating them is so important. You can defend and safeguard your rights. You can share your story and experiences, which is a key to advocacy, so important. You can show support for or against legislation, build influential relationships. I can go on and on about that one and how many people I've met and built amazing relationships with and had this amazing network of people in the disability community. You can advise and be considered in life-affecting decisions, and you can be part of a positive change. Next slide, please. So we have case studies on effective advocates. I nabbed this slide from my coworker, Steve, because I really like it. Okay, so an effective advocate. The best advocates are pesky without being rude. So this goes back to the whole persistence. You gotta keep showing up. You gotta keep popping up, saying, "Hey, I'm still here. Can we talk about this again?" Let's see, effective advocates in person now and some virtual meetings with staffers are essential. So when we go to the role in Capitol Hill or have a virtual advocacy day events, a lot of the times we don't speak to the actual member of Congress, we speak to their staffer. And you may think, but it is extremely important because you have to talk to the staffer and inform them and educate them so they will then take this to their boss. So you have to convince them that it's important enough for them to go convince their boss to support or co-sponsor whatever you're trying to get through. Understand it's both up to you to convince the staffer and up to the staffer to convince their boss. Just like I said, so you want to work with them, you want to work together. Follow up with the staffer after the meeting, so important. If possible, demonstrate strength by getting constituents to email and call. Now, constituents, those are all of you, all of the advocates across the country. If you go to a meeting with a member of Congress and you're not a constituent in their district, it may be a little bit harder to convince them. So this is why another part of my job is when we're discussing issues and speaking to certain senators or representatives, we try to find, this is when I call upon our advocates to share stories that relate to the issue we're discussing, especially if they're in the senator's district, because those members of Congress are there for us. They're there to listen to us and help serve us for what we need. Let's see, know your deadlines if you can, which, that's important for so many things in life, and know when to pull back. Don't burn your bridges. This is one that Steve emphasizes over and over and over. And after being with United Spinal for 3 years, I understand this because yes, maybe 2 years ago, someone didn't go along with what we were trying to push, but you never know when you're going to have to go back and get their support for something else. So never burn your bridges and always look at networking and building those relationships. Next slide, Pete, please. Different methods of advocacy. Like I said, crash course in advocacy, guys. There's going to be time to ask questions, which I was saying before this, that's my favorite part of presenting is the question and answer time. So there's 3 different methods of advocacy. We have direct action, we have legal advocacy, and we have legislative advocacy. Direct action is the one that a lot of people think of when they think of an advocate. Those are the people that like chain themselves to trees or lay down in the street, or, you know, they're there protesting and advocating for whatever it is that they are for or against. It's a form of protest in which those taking part seek to achieve their goals through direct, often physical action, rather than through negotiation or discussion. And direct action can take many different forms, either from occupying buildings or blocking roads. You know, there's marches, demonstrations, there's all different forms. And this is really useful for drawing attention and demonstrating ongoing or potential harm, but it's really less effective at securing positive legislative change. The next is legal advocacy. And this is also known as advocacy through the courts. This is using the judicial system to really advance social change goals. And this is often done by bringing forward a legal case in court, and that really focuses on improving a situation for a particular group or disadvantaged people. It's the use of the courts and legal system to secure rights, and this can really secure change. Can secure change large and small, but it also can take a very long time. The next, legislative advocacy. This is what we do at United Spinal. This is what I've been learning, you know, ever since I started. And this is engaging with legislators on either the state or federal level in an attempt to influence laws and policies. This is often necessary, particularly on issues of funding. And it may take years to build relationships or momentum. There's my computer slide, and I was just talking about making sure my computer didn't slide. It may take years to build relationships, momentum, but it really can result in sweeping and lasting change, which is what we want. And the process can really be sped up if you have the right tactics and if you have the support. So next slide, please. All right, now I'm going to talk a little bit more about legislative advocacy, since this is really what we do at United Spinal. And comprehensive legislative advocacy. I've kind of listed some aspects of it here. And really, with legislative advocacy, it's very important to show up. Like I said before, persistence, showing up. You know, congressional offices are fast-paced environments. Congressional staff will only pay attention to groups who engage their office directly. This is why our advocates are so important. Congressional offices place a lot of importance on hearing from constituents. You know, we send out these action alerts that are very easy for our advocates to click on a few things, fill in a little information, and it's sent off to their members of Congress. And we do this so easily because it needs to be done in a mass. If the members of Congress only receive one of these emails on an issue, it's not going to go anywhere. But if you receive hundreds of emails on the same issue, that's going to make an impact. And they're going to start thinking like, I'm going to have to do something about this. So if congressional offices only hear from United Spinal once a year, they'll see us as a box to check off and not think about us the rest of the year. Oh, United Spinal's here again. You know, we're going to see them again next year. So We want to make a bigger impact than that. And we need to stay engaged throughout the year to demonstrate commitment. Next, all right, next slide. Slide 6, political engagement. Nope, that's right. You can go back. There we go. Thank you. Effective advocacy starts with clear communication. In-person visits. Really with these, this is where you can build your long-term relationships. Elected officials want to get to know their constituents. These are the people who are voting for them. So of course, they're going to want to hear what the constituents want, what the constituents need. Just give me 1 second. Because they want their constituents to be happy, to get their votes. Information is power. Sharing reliable information is a powerful tool in establishing trust with members of Congress and their staff. You have to do your research. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be prepared. When we go into these meetings, you sometimes only have a very small amount of time to cover a lot of information. So you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to know your talking points. Just being prepared. Be yourself and always be at your best. The way you approach, interact, and follow up with members and staff is as important as the message you want to deliver. So it's what your mama always told you, right? Always write your thank you notes. So, you want to follow up. You want to say thank you. You want to really let them know you appreciate that they gave you the time to come and talk and to come and discuss issues. Town hall meetings. This is really, we can connect with legislators in your local community. It's a great way to engage in person with your elected officials. If you do have the chance to go to a town hall meeting, you really want to make your mic time count. You have to be prepared, as I said before, share personal stories, which I'll talk a little bit, I think, on the next slide. Always be respectful. And sometimes town hall meetings can get a little heated, and attendees feel, because, when a lot of people that go to these meetings feel very strongly about what they're talking about. So emotions can get high, but you want to always, sorry, I saw someone put, I love seeing Josh. Yep, there he is on the picture there. You always want to be respectful. Social media is a great way to collaborate and reach a wide audience. There's a lot of things about social media I don't like, but there are some social media offers some amazing ways to connect. And it's something I've learned working through United Spinal and just trying to get our advocates to connect and collaborate more through social media efforts. Next slide, please. All right. One of my favorite parts, effective personal storytelling. Like it says here, storytelling is one of the most powerful tools for affecting change in our society. You have to have kind of story development questions. No one tells your story better than yourself, but you want to kind of have it planned out. You want to tailor your story to your audience. So know who you're talking to and know how to create and present your story in a way that's going to relate to them and help them relate to you. And really messages that inspire action. And I am going to share a quote that Steve, again, my colleague, gave me when it was for some presentation and I loved it. And he said, "Stories are the most valuable currency on Capitol Hill. Members of Congress and their staff are able to use them in many different ways. They can use them in a speech to highlight an issue. They can use them while asking questions of witnesses at a congressional hearing. They can use them to plan events back home where they may invite that person to participate. Stories make an issue feel more real and personal in an environment that is awash in data points and funding figures. This is why it is essential for our community to share our stories with our elected officials and their staff in order to provide the disability perspective that is too often lacking in the halls of power. I could not have explained it any better than he did, and I knew he was the right person to go to, but it's so true. We always try to explain to our advocates, it's understandable you're going to be nervous if it's your first time rolling in to a senator's office. I've done it a few times and I still get nervous, but you just have to remember, you just have to share your story, because that is going to make an impact. It just makes things real. It does. You're sitting in front of them. It may be something they're unfamiliar with, whatever issue you're trying to educate them on. But when you share your story, you share your journey, it really, really makes an impact. And I've seen it. I've seen it on the faces of people I've talked to in these offices. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is just to share your story, be transparent, and you will reach more people than you can ever imagine. Next slide, please. So applying these lessons for United Spinal, I think this is another slide I stole from Steve, but United Spinal needs a critical mass of consistent, engaged advocates in every congressional district around the country. And I'll explain this. This will make a little bit more sense in the slides coming up. United Spinal needs constituent ambassadors who can provide the disability perspective for elected officials if they have questions. So again, sharing your story. And a lot of times that you do get questions from these members of Congress, because a lot of them are unfamiliar with many aspects of the disability community. And then sometimes, I've been to some where they're like, oh, my brother has MS, or, my aunt has a spinal cord injury, and you instantly connect. And then by applying consistent pressure and by cultivating relationships with congressional offices, we gain more allies on Capitol Hill and achieve better outcomes. Next slide, please. All right. This is where the whole thing will make a little bit more sense. I'm going to start going now into the grassroots advocacy network through United Spinal. Signing up as a registered advocate really gives you access to our grassroots advocacy network, which includes monthly Advocacy Live virtual meetings featuring dozens of advocates from across the country. And actually, that's changed. I made this outline a while ago. We actually had Advocacy Live today for the month, and there was 60 some advocates on there from all over the country. It was a great meeting today, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit. So you have the Advocacy Live virtual meetings, working groups on issues of importance to our community, and really the opportunity to participate in Roll on Capitol Hill and our virtual advocacy day. We are seeking as many advocates as possible across the country to ensure that all of our elected officials hear our community's concerns really loud and clear. So you're probably wondering what the heck this map is that I have up here. Of course, orange is United Spinal's color. Right under where it says Grassroots Advocacy Network, that is the advocacy program webpage. And I sent this, hopefully you guys will all be able to receive this PowerPoint. I'm not sure if it can be sent out. Yes, again, I see you're nodding. Perfect. So you guys will all have these links. And really, I highly recommend just clicking on that and going through, because all the things I'm going to be talking about can be found on that webpage. Now, these maps here, the one on the left, July 2020, is when Steve Lieberman started up this whole grassroots advocacy network idea. And we started from 0 advocates. We wanted it set up in a way that everybody that is in the grassroots advocacy network voluntarily filled out the form. and said, I want to be a registered advocate. This map on the right is just, I think Steve sent it to me last week. So you can see the difference. Let's see here. I have the numbers. Our whole goal is to turn the map orange. We want it that dark orange because that means there's at least 5 advocates in that congressional district. There's 435 congressional districts across the United States, and it's kind of hard to see on here, but they're all split up. As of August 2023, we have 1,871 registered advocates in 426 out of the 435 congressional districts across all 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. So there's a couple areas where we're working hard to get people to sign up. 6 of the districts are in California. There's just a cluster of districts in Southern California that, you know, we're having a little difficulty just tracking down people. And a lot of it is some of these areas are just like sparse open areas. So, and in order to become a registered advocate, all you have to do is click on that link at the bottom of the slide. And I think the form will take you 2 minutes to fill out. So you're probably wondering, okay, what the heck did I just sign up for? Now, as a grassroots, as a registered advocate, you will be able to have access to all these different parts of the advocacy program that I'm going to be talking about. And like I said, you'll have a possible opportunity to go enroll on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and also take part in our virtual advocacy day, which I'll talk more about those here soon. You know, and when you look at the map, there's the different shades of orange. The lightest one is, I believe it's 1 advocate. So, you know, once we have all these districts filled, then we're going to go back around and start aiming for those districts where we only have 1 advocate. We want the whole map that dark orange. So if you're looking on here and you say, oh, you know, my district is dark orange. Well, we want you to fill out the form. We want the minimum to be 5 in every district, because the more advocates we have in every district, the more powerful we are, the more voices we have. And it'll be easier if I need some advocates from a certain district and I have a long list to choose from, you know, because certain advocates have experienced things that may be more relatable to certain issues. So let's see here. The 2 primary goals is we want to recruit committed advocates all across the country who will commit to sending United Spinal's action alerts, which I kind of mentioned before, to their members of Congress, and having these advocates serve as ambassadors for the wheelchair user community with the lawmakers on Capitol Hill. And like I said, that link will take you right to the registration form, which is very easy to fill out. And if you get stuck or have trouble, you can contact me. Very easy to reach, and all that information will be at the end. But now you've heard me mention these action alerts. Once you sign up, you will receive emails with these action alerts, and it's not going to be like 50 emails a day. We're not going to bombard you and blow up your email. These action alerts are so important because if policymakers do not hear about the issues we need change, then they won't know about them. So this is why building this advocacy network is so important, because we need to voice our concerns and voice where more change and awareness needs to take place. So I'm going to go a little bit further to kind of describe how we built this advocacy network. So each United Spinal, there's 6 regions we have broken up for United Spinal. Each of those regions has a regional advocacy coordinator. And then each United Spinal chapter, which I believe we have like 146 chapters, I think. Don't hold me to that. I may be off by a couple. Each chapter has a chapter advocacy coordinator. So this is the person person who's going to receive my weekly emails with all the information, and then they relay it to the chapter. It's just our line of communication. It makes things easier. So I don't have to be sending out a million emails to chapters, and it just makes things easier. And then we decided, we're like, wait, we have a lot of advocates that are signed up in areas where there's no chapters. So they're not receiving information. So we decided that we are going to create state advocacy coordinators. So we did this in areas that don't have chapters, because there's areas such as, some states have multiple chapters. So for instance, in Ohio, for some reason, there's not a chapter, I think, in the Columbus area, but we have a mass of registered advocates. So we want those advocates to stay engaged. So the state advocacy coordinator does the similar job as the chapter advocacy coordinator, and they just relay information to these advocates. And Steve is the keeper of the map. Steve is very proud of his map. Steve's face lights up when he talks about the map. So he is constantly, updating people on when registered advocates sign up, because we want to continually keep people engaged. And then another thing we created is, it's called a state advocacy council, because like I said, states such as California, Texas, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida, I think I covered them all have multiple chapters, where we're like, well, these chapters need to engage with one another to help one another. So we just called a state advocacy council, and we asked for those specific states just to have them meet up maybe once or twice a year. And I say the model state for this is Pennsylvania, because they meet up, each chapter advocacy coordinator, they've done roles on their capital in Pennsylvania, which that's happened in quite a few states where they've arranged roles on their capital. And it's just a way to help one another, support one another, and just stay in tune with what the rest of the advocates in your state are doing. And then we, of course, set up, I have quarterly advocacy calls where I meet with all of the advocacy coordinators. I do check-ins where I meet individually just to stay in tune, stay up to date, because we want to know what our advocates are working on so we can offer help and resources any way that we possibly can. Let's see here. How about the next slide? Advocacy Live. So this is what I was discussing. We had our monthly Advocacy Live today. And like I said, I think there was between 60, 65 advocates there from all over, which is so much fun. It's a great way to collaborate and engage. And we have those advocates that are on every month. And then each month we have new faces. Some kind of sit silently and just listen, which is completely okay. That's why we created all these facets for the advocacy program, because we wanted our advocates to have a choice of how they want to get involved, at however speed they want to get involved, and whatever level. And we offer these, like I said, monthly, but we alternate at 1 and 5 p.m. Eastern time by month, so we want to accommodate our West Coasters, which sometimes they can't really attend our 1 o'clock ones. So I believe the next Advocacy Live is September 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and all you have to do is click on those links there, and you'll have to register for the 1 o'clock ones and the 5 o'clock. But once you register, it registers you for all future ones, so you'll get reminders. You don't have to register every month. So I really, really recommend doing this. If you're new to advocacy, it's just great to hear about everything going on and how much somebody all the way up in Oregon can help somebody all the way down in Miami, Florida, because they just happen to be working on the same issue. And it really, it, it provides an opportunity for us to stay updated on what issues that our advocates are currently focused on. You know, and we have our working groups, and one of our working groups actually, it started from a conversation we had, a very heated conversation where people got fired up about accessible parking. And I'm sure many of you can understand that is an issue that comes up all the time. And we set these events up with no agenda. There's Steve and I, we are on there. We kind of give an intro, kind of a quick update, and then we sit back and we're there to answer questions. We're there to facilitate and help out a little bit if there's certain policy things that come up, which is Steve's forte. But we wanted to offer this open forum to really give advocates the opportunity to discuss and share whatever they want to talk about. It's not recorded. We didn't want to record it because we want the advocates to just feel comfortable about sharing. Some of them just have questions personally about, hey, I'm having issues with Medicaid, Medicare, you know, can somebody help me? And then you have 5 other people chiming in, giving tips on what to do. So it's just a really, it's grown. We've been doing it for quite a while now. This was Steve's brilliant idea. And we love it. We always look forward to it every month. So hopefully I might see some of your faces next month. And I would love to see you there. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. All right, this is the Advocacy Network Facebook live streams. This is, as Steve says, this is my baby. This is the one. I started this up when I first started with United Spinal. What I do is every month I select an advocate that's doing amazing work that I feel needs to be highlighted and shared all over. And it's actually just a live conversation, which can be scary because usually I hit a wrong button or do something wrong every single time, but it's live. And it's just a really laid back, fun conversation. And everybody viewing live can ask questions live. You can comment, and I can bring your comments up so others can see it. It's just a really great way to interact and to highlight some of the amazing work that's being done all over the country by advocates. Actually, the next one is next week on Wednesday. It's on a Wednesday once a month at noon. So next week I don't know if any of you are familiar with Eric Kondo. He is from, yes, from Massachusetts. And he's involved with a lot of our working groups. He has a wealth of information. I'm a little intimidated by this one because he is, I love just listening to him and sharing everything that, yes, his inventions are amazing. And that's going to be something that we're going to definitely be talking about. But yes, so all you have to do to watch these is follow the United Spinal Association Advocacy Network Facebook page, which is listed there. It streams directly to that page. It streams directly to the United Spinal Association Facebook page. And it also streams directly to my LinkedIn for those that are on LinkedIn. And then the bottom one, the recordings of the live streams, you can go there. It's on the website and it's all the past live streams. And there's little kind of teasers underneath, so you can read what each one is about if you're looking for a specific topic. So if you're looking for something to read one day or watch, I highly suggest just going through there because there's been some great and some fun conversations that I've had. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to the conversation with Eric next week. So hope you guys can tune in and ask questions live. Next slide, please. All right. This is, I'm going to talk a little bit about the resources. I'll try to get through these quickly because I want some time for questions. But this is our advocacy in action, a toolkit for the rolling revolution. This was actually a toolkit that was created by Brooke McCall, who was in my position right before me, and she had created this amazing toolkit. And then, as the advocacy network and program grew, I completely went in there and updated it, and kept the same format, but we had to just kind of update some things and make sure everything connected right with the website. So this it's PDF format, 60 plus pages, full of information. It really talks about background, defining advocacy and key legislation, the legislative process. Actually, a lot of the things that I've talked about at the beginning of this presentation came from the toolkits. And I'm currently working on an online advocacy curriculum based off of this toolkit that advocates can take and then receive this or certificate. So it's one of the projects that they have me working on. Let's see. The next is our state and local advocacy menu. It's listed at the bottom there, and this is just something that Steve and I recently created. It is, let's see, the best way to describe it is it's a list of actionable advocacy initiatives that was really created as a way to provide kind of a selection, a menu of possible issues for chapters or advocates to pursue in their own states or municipalities. So you can go in there and click on that, and it is a large selection. If you're just curious maybe about some of the issues that are kind of out there right now, you can just click on that and look through, and it's going to be constantly changing. It's not a static, as new issues come about, we'll be adding them to this menu. And it's just another way to empower our advocates to have the ability to choose what they're working on. We just want to help out a little bit and make a list for them, because that would help me. Sometimes I don't even know where to start, but you give me a list and I'm good to go. So there is some great resources and toolkits, and I hope you guys, if you do look through them, hopefully it can provide some information for you. Next slide, please. All right, Roll on Capitol Hill. This was just this past June. It was actually my first, I was able to attend in person, because when I was hired on at United Spinal, it was during COVID, so everything was virtual. So this was an amazing experience for me. The picture in front of the Capitol building there, it really hit me, and really made an impact when we all gathered there in front of the Capitol building, because of how many of us were there. And we want to go bigger and bigger. The problem is there aren't enough accessible hotel rooms in DC. We use 7 hotels to accommodate all of the advocates who needed that. So we flew in, I believe it was, let's see, about 100 advocates, and we had approximately 160 office meetings. So that's 160 offices with members of Congress that our advocates met with over this. It was all done, let's see, in one day. Yeah, it was one day. It's kind of all blur. It was exhausting and like exhilarating at the same time. So it's just an amazing event that really I'm looking forward to it next year already. So, and really to kind of describe it, it's United Spinal's annual signature policy event that supports key advocacy priorities for its membership and the broader disability community, to ensure that legislators include wheelchair users and all people with disabilities in policy debates on Capitol Hill. And doing this in person, it does have a bigger impact, because when you see all these wheelchairs trying to squeeze into a congressional office, and it shows how it's not accessible, it makes an impact, So when you're banging into their tables and chairs because there's not enough room, they're gonna remember you. So it makes a big impact. And the links here will take you to some some information about the past role. I don't know if there's pictures uploaded yet or not, but just go ahead and click on that and take a look, and it'll talk about our role. Next slide, please. Virtual Advocacy Day. This is like rolling Capitol Hill, except you're sitting at home in front of your computer. And this is a great event because the last one we had, it provided an opportunity for nearly 60 advocates across the country to meet virtually with 30 congressional offices. And what is really great about this event is a lot of those advocates, this was their first time ever doing anything like this. So we provide an education day before the role and before Virtual Advocacy Day. We don't just send you in there. We have an education day where you learn about, the issues that we're going to be talking about. We have what's called one-pagers, that has everything laid out. We do kind of a practice. So it's a great event just to kind of learn and see how the process goes. And then to realize, how easy it is. And the picture there is, that's me with the staffer and actually the Senator Braun from Indiana, which I don't even know if I told you guys that I work remotely from Indiana. So we'll put that in there. Next slide, please. And then our working group. So this is another part of the advocacy program. And we just added the 5th one on, but our working groups are accessible parking, outdoor access, emergency preparedness, care support, and accessible transportation. The link at the very bottom is where you can go. If you want to participate in any of these working groups, you can participate in any or all of them. And when you go there, it gives a description of kind of what the focus is for each working group, which I won't go into now since we're running short on time. But again, if you ever have any questions, please just email me, you'll have the email at the end of this. But we are creating resources for the disability community. Outdoor Access has recreated a beach access and mobility resource. We just created a hurricane preparedness for the disability community resource. I just completed a care support for hiring PCAs, and then we're going to be working on accessible camping. So it's just compiling information and all these advocates that have all this knowledge. And it's fun. It's fun. And we're just working together to create these resources. Next slide, please. I think we're almost done. Yes. All right. What are our expectations? United Spinal wants every advocate to participate at their own pace. I want to emphasize that, at your own pace, what you feel comfortable with. United Spinal provides many opportunities to get involved. Anyone can participate, so as long as they care about what the issues facing people with spinal cord injuries or disabilities and wheelchair users. So to sign up as a registered advocate, you do not have to be in a wheelchair. You do not have to have a disability. My entire family are registered advocates. So like this says, if you care about the disability community, we want you to be a registered advocate, because when those members of Congress receive those emails, those action alerts, they can't see the person who's sending it. So we just want people who care, and we want people who show up, and we just, we're building this strong network, and, we want to continue recruiting people. So it's very, very easy to do. You can scan that. Like, again, that's the link to get to be a registered advocate. And I think the last slide is just info and emails. There's the advocacy and policy team, which is Steve Lieberman and myself. We're advocacy and policy, and government relations is Alex Benowith, Rebecca McTaggart, and Mr. Kent Keyser. And there's emails there for just the team, or if you want to email me directly, it's also listed there, astrite@unitedspinal.org. And I think I did it. I think that's it. So first off, I want to thank everybody for letting me go through that whole spiel. And it took a little longer than planned because I wanted to leave time for questions, but I can answer a few if there's any. see here. Get rid of this.
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm signed. I went ahead and signed up because I was like, I don't want to wait. I'll forget. So I got all signed up and I'm excited to
Perfect. I'll
do what I
probably
can
see
do.
the email with your name on there tomorrow morning when I get all logged in. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happens when you're in an area where because I'm probably in that big gray area in California. There's not a lot here. I don't even have good doctors. I have to drive 4 hours. So what happens in a place like that? How big of a difference can I make?
Oh, you can make a huge difference. Because if you sign up as a registered advocate, and then you have the ability to get people, to recruit people to sign up. Like I said, it doesn't have to be wheelchair users. It can be anybody who cares. It can be doctors. It can be, it can be anybody. So the more people that you get signed up in the district, the stronger your voice will be. Especially if you're trying to get certain issues passed. And let me see here. If you want to email me your name and your address, I can have Steve Lieberman enter that information to see exactly what district you are a part of. And then I can get back with you on that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. Filling in all those gray little spots. I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Only 9 of them left. Yeah.
And it's really surprising that there is that little bloop in California. Like a little bit in Texas makes sense, a little up on the East Coast makes sense, but that little spot in California, I'm like, what?
And
it's all farming. It's all farm area and a lot of acres between.
Yeah, in New York, there's that big chunk in New York, and I'm like, I'm originally from Buffalo. Buffalo, unfortunately, is not in that chunk, but I got relatives I know in there, so I've been sending off emails, and we're gonna get it filled. Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed this so much. This is super great. Does anyone have any final questions before we go? I don't mind staying a couple extra minutes if anyone has anything that they are just dying to ask. Otherwise, if there is no other questions, I will be sending out this PowerPoint. I got this before the event started, so I already have it. I'm gonna download the video, and then so I will send the recording from tonight so you guys can take notes, or if there's something that you missed and want to come back to. And I just want to say thank you so much, Annie, for giving us your time tonight. Like you just told me in the beginning that there was going to be so much more to this one compared to what I heard the first time, and there was. I love that Tanya already took the jump and got involved with like the advocacy link, because it's like people like that who are ready to like take that initial jump that's going to get this change really going. So like, thank you, Tanya, for hopping in and getting the movement started. And I hope all of you guys take the time to fill out that advocacy link and get involved. The role on Capitol Hill is something that's on my checklist as well that I want to do. So if anyone wants to like get a group trip planned, let's just email me and Annie about it, and we'll get like a wheel with me little group going. Otherwise, if that's it, Annie, thank you so much again for your time and for sharing such valuable information. The storytelling aspect is why I invited her in, because what she said is just super important. We got to share our stories, and it doesn't have to be on a crazy level where you're like going live on Instagram or sharing your life every other day on social media. It doesn't have to be that big. It can be as simple as like telling someone in the grocery store like how to properly help you, or like how not to help you. It's little things like that. They all add up. So be comfortable sharing your story. I'm really excited for the rest of the week. Tomorrow we have Renee coming and speaking about faith. Thursday we have Jesse speaking about sex and relationships and growing your confidence around that. And then Friday I am ending on like a high note with a fun hoop class, because it's summertime. Let's get our bodies moving and try something new and fun. If you have any questions about any of the events, feel free to send us a message. All of the links are still available to sign up for the next 3 nights. So if you have not signed up yet, please go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just have an amazing night. Thank you guys all for giving us your time, for listening to Annie, and for getting involved. I really hope to see you guys all tomorrow, and I will see you guys see you guys then.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Annie.